Window right now. I've got a very special episode. I'm very worked up, very, very annoyed with a few things. The media is really on fire, don't you think? I call it the Trump derangement syndrome, but they're just really off their rocker. Tell you what, that Senator Warren needs to go back on her meds, no doubt about that. But what I want to talk to you, I've been thinking about this one for a day or so, and wanted to put it together for you tonight. So this narrative about Trump being a liar. Oh, he's a lie. He's lying. He's constantly spitting lies out. You know, they're just running with this story, and I don't know what They're seizing on these little things. Last week it was the Bowling Green thing. This week it's the Kellyanne said the Bowling Green thing, and then this week it's Donald Trump saying the murder rate is up 47. It's the highest in 47 years. That's what he said. It's the highest murder rate in 47 years, and CNN is going apoplectic, right? Nuts. They're going nuts. Let's take a look. Here's an interaction. They had Kellyanne Conway on CNN. If I were, I'd stick to not going on anymore like they threatened to. But this, listen to them discussing this, wrong window. This one right here. Listen to them discussing this. She's with Jake Tapper on CNN. And listen to the condescension and the oh my gosh and the above, it's just like over the top about how Trump is like spewing these lies, okay? Check this out.
I guess what I'm getting at here is there is a larger campaign being waged by President Trump and by the White House to undermine the credibility of everybody in the news media except for certain supportive outlets. And for instance, earlier today, President Trump made a quote about the murder rate being at the highest level it's ever been in 47 years. He said that, and he said nobody in the media reports on that. There's a reason that nobody in the media reports on that. It's not true. The murder rate is not at the highest rate it's been in 47 years. It spiked a little, it went up a little, but it's still much, much lower. It's 4.9 people per 100,000. That's dwarfed by the murder rates in the 1990s and before that in the 1980s. Facts are stubborn things. And to say that we're not reporting something that happens not to be true, therefore we're not to be trusted, that's a problem.
All right, so, check, this is what I'm talking about, guys. Like, if you were just an average Joe home from work after a long day, put your feet up on the couch and open a beer and flick on the news, and you turn on CNN, and they're going to tell you what's happening, right? This is a news program, right? The Lead with Jake Tapper, serious journalist, White House correspondent, right? Okay, Trump's lying to you, man. Like, he's making this a character issue, a moral issue. Trump is intending to deceive you, and he's doing it on a regular basis. He is morally indignant, right? Look at his face. Look at him. Look, and this is Trump's spokesman, chief communications strategist, and he is lighting her up. And this is after a fisticuffs they had about whether or not she was still invited on the show. They think she's discredited. Maybe they're not going to have her on, but now all of a sudden they have her on. So they're indignant, right? So I'll save the punchline, but let me just assure you, stories about him trying to lie to you are greatly exaggerated. All right, stand by for that. But listen to where Kellyanne Conway, who I love, by the way, first successful female campaign manager ever for a Republican president, or maybe both parties. A real superstar, right? And just a performer, and obviously enjoys the confidence of the president very extensively, which speaks highly of her to me. I don't know about Mr. Tapper there. But listen to where she tries to take it. So she just spewed all this venom and basically called your boss a liar, an intentional liar, devil, trying to mislead the people. Here's where she takes it, right? Everyone says the Trump is, if you listen to Jake Tapper, Trump is attacking the media. It's relentless. That's why they can't stop. Here's where she tries to take it.
Jake, if I can take the broader issue of our relationship with the media, I'm among, if not the most open press person in the White House. I'm now being attacked by the media, including networks that are familiar to you, and I'm just going to keep soldiering on. I came to this White House to serve this president who's serving people. I have in my portfolio here veterans, I have women and children, I have opiate use, and we're working on all of that. I sat in on the sheriff's roundtable today. I sat in on the Veterans Affairs, and I know that that's something near and dear to your heart, because I see you often give voice and visibility, lend your considerable platform to our fallen soldiers and to our brave men and women in uniform. On that we agree, and if we can find areas of agreement, give me a call, because I sat in on that. I sat in on a similar meeting in Mar-a-Lago over the holidays, a working session. We had some of the top minds and leaders in healthcare here to the White House today, so they can advise specifically on Veterans Affairs issues. Not a single person there said, oh, President Obama didn't care. Nobody said that. It was basically, how do we move forward so that the structure is better, the responsiveness is better. I can't imagine anybody disagrees with President Trump when he says, if we don't take care of our veterans, who are we really as a nation? So if we can find areas of agreement.
Not addressing what I just talked about.
All right, so you see where she tried to take it, like on the larger issue of the relationship with the press and what they're trying to do down there. But look at the headline she's talking over top of. Trump falsely claims the murder rate is highest in 47 years. I mean, okay, that's the banner headline, man. Like, he's a liar. And then, it's what I have to be honest. It is true. The murder rate is not the highest that it's been in 47 years. So if I'm Joe Sixpack and CNN, I'm relying on CNN to tell me how it is. I now have an impression that Donald Trump is what? He's intentionally putting me on, right? Like, this guy, why would he say that? What, does he want to, like, send the cops into the neighborhood and crack skulls even though the murder rate isn't the highest it's been in 47 years? Does he try to justify budgets? What is his motivation? Why is he lying to me? If someone knows why they have a motivation, or maybe, don't you think that would be part of the story? If we could identify a motivation? Well, what if I told you this? What if I told you that it is true that the murder rate in 2015, the murder rate spiked 11% in 1 year, year over year. There was a spike. You heard Jake mention it briefly, that there was a little spike, right? He kind of covered his base there. But that little spike, which came out during the Trump campaign, and he talked about it extensively on the campaign trail, was the largest 1 year spike in 45 years, okay? And this is a PolitiFact article from October of 2016, okay? That is because that claim that he made, that the rate of increase in the murder rate is the highest in 45 years last year, it was largely accurate that he said. They kind of quibble with him that he said in our cities, and the stat is technically kind of for nationwide, but it was largely true what he said. Here, watch. This is a little buggy if we can get it to play. Here we go.
We have a increase in murder within our cities, the biggest in 45 years.
So they're... Was it going to play? Yeah, their site's using like a really clunky player, but you get the idea. That he said that during one of the debates, and he's actually said it a number. And so they were PolitiFact checking it back in October of 2016, and they rate it mostly true. Okay, so the media, Jake Tapper was covering the Trump campaign, my friends. You better believe it. Okay, so Jake Tapper, he knows. This is what I'm trying to tell you, man. They were at the sheriff's briefing. Kellyanne is talking about how they spent the day at the sheriff's briefing talking to the officers, right? They were there. These stats were handed out and probably covered in that meeting. Plus, Jake Tapper extensively covered the campaign point by point. He knows damn well what Trump was saying, is what I'm trying to tell you, okay? So he understands that it's like a typical CEO, Trump is thinking of the big point that he's trying to make, and he's throwing out a few facts, and yes, he gets it wrong. He deserves a little bit of grief for that, no doubt about it. But to come off like he just pulled this out of his butt and he's trying to mislead you, man, there's an element of truth to what he was saying, and this is a 25-minute grilling of Kellyanne Conway that never makes the air at CNN. I'm telling you. So Kellyanne, doesn't give it back to him at first, gives a very conciliatory, like, here's what we're trying to do, and here he takes it right back.
What we're talking about is the fact that the White House is waging war on people who are and sometimes risking their lives to do so, saying that nothing we say is true, all of it is fake. I would much rather be talking to you about veterans issues. In fact, when it comes to the Trump administration, I would be much rather covering immigration, I would much rather be covering trade, and I would much rather be covering draining the swamp and counter. Instead, every day there are these sprays of attack and sprays of falsehoods coming from the White House.
So that spray of falsehood, my man, I mean, making a mountain out of a molehill. Like I said, the man deserves to be corrected, and he deserves some guff if he repeats it, which I believe he has made this error once before, at least, that I know of. So it's not like Trump didn't misstate the facts, but to come off like he's lying, like it's some kind of a conspiracy, like maybe he's trying to make it sound worse than it is, for political reasons. I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about. I don't understand what their big beef is. So, all right. So now let's get to the next thing. So basically here, let me walk you through how you have to begin to filter. Because here, I'm leaving you in this position. I talk to friends and stuff all the time, and they're like, well, once you realize that, Jake Tapper, when he made that scathing attack on Kellyanne, he knew damn well what I'm telling you, that Trump had a nugget of something in there, but he misstated it. There was a spike. That spike was the largest in 45 years. It is alarming. He has a point. He's not like talking out of his ass, okay? So yes, he fumbled the facts. It's CEO speak. Criticize him for that crime, fine. But don't come off like he's Adolf Hitler, spewing propaganda, because that's you, dude. Okay, so this is their MO. So you have to learn. I can't tell you who to believe and who not to believe, because it seems like right now it's hard to believe anyone. You have to really think about what you're seeing and who to believe, and you have to weigh it against what makes sense, because that is so misleading what they've done. So here's what you have to do. You have to learn, when you hear someone in the media and they're shrieking, like hysterical, like, my God. For example, last week's big controversy, what were they shrieking about? That Kellyanne Conway, when she was making a point about the temporary immigration ban, she made the point that the media keeps saying that no terrorists have ever come from those 7 banned countries. They keep saying on TV over and over again, it's false. She says they're not even talking about a bunch of cases, including the 2011 Bowling Green massacre. And so she's rattled that off a couple different times. It's clear that that's not exactly accurate, but they launched on it like they went hysterical. And so anytime you hear the media going hysterical about something and harboring it and presenting it to you, that makes it sound like they're so ridiculous. Why would they lie like this? What are they trying to advance? So it makes you disbelieve. Like, why would they think they could get away with lying like that? The next time you hear that story, the next time you're made to feel that way, you have to go look at it yourself. You have to, because the media, what they're doing is they're telling you like half of a story and a deliberate attempt to mislead you. Now you listen to here's some of my favorites over at CNN. These guys, man, I tell you what. Listen to how they go crazy about Kellyanne saying Bowling Green massacre. You would think she said that aliens landed on the White House lawn. Listen to this crap.
Talking alternative facts, and boy, she took it to a whole new level. The Trump advisor defending Trump's travel ban by citing what she calls the Bowling Green massacre. Listen.
These are nations very narrowly prescribed and also temporary.
Sure.
I bet there was very little coverage. I bet it's brand new information to people that President Obama had a 6-month ban on the Iraqi refugee program. 2 Iraqis came here to this country, were radicalized, and they were the masterminds behind the Bowling Green massacre. Most people don't know that because it didn't get covered.
First of all, there was no ban, okay? Right. You can argue that as a question of political semantics and what's slow versus stop it. But this Bowling Green massacre, is there anything other than these arrests that we found of these 2 guys who arguably should not have gotten into the country, but they never did anything here?
Well, they were charged with desiring to send weapons to Iraq.
Back to Iraq.
So, no, there's nothing like this. It got obscured by
Okay. All right, so they're going crazy, right? Oh, well, there was like 2 guys, but she totally made it up. They're hysterical about it. And all week last week, I'm telling you, like, they were talking about not having her on the news anymore because she's supposedly not credible, right? They went nuts, okay? Go back to 2011 and look at this story. Now, if you don't think that this is relevant to the idea that we need to clean up the immigration procedures for vetting people who are coming from these 7 countries, which aren't just selected at random, they're the countries that have been destroyed by war. We should know because we did it, right? Iraq, Libya, Syria, right? They're all on the list. And Somalia, are you kidding me? Yemen, all these are countries where we've had military intervention. Or Iran, that won't cooperate with us. So the point isn't that, we hate Muslims. That's only 15% of the world's Muslims, 85% unaffected by the ban, right? The point is that there's no procedures, there's nothing to check the data against because these countries are half destroyed, okay? That's the point. Okay, and so the point of the ban is to make it so crap like this doesn't happen from 2011. Check this out. This happened. And see, this is what you have to learn to do. When the media is making a mockery about something someone said, like she had a slip of the tongue. This is not a massacre. That's true. The massacre was in Iraq. But these guys were masterminding it. They weren't just sending or selling weapons or something. They were here working. They found the guy's finger. Just listen, okay? If this isn't an example of how people are slipping through, these guys came as refugees, my friends, during the Obama administration. Listen to this.
New information today about the arrest of 2 terror suspects who appeared in court in Louisville, Kentucky yesterday. An unusual case connected back to Iraq. Bob Orr is in Washington with more on this story. Bob, good morning to you. Exactly who are these men and what are they charged with right now?
Well, Jeff, as you said, very interesting case. Both of these suspects are from Iraq originally. In the past 2 years, they've lived in Bowling Green, Kentucky. But prosecutors say for 8 years, Wad Ramadan Alwan and Mohanad Sharif Hamadi have supported al-Qaeda's insurgency against U.S. soldiers in Iraq. Alwan is specifically accused of making and placing roadside bombs while he was in Iraq between 2003 and 2006, and both of the men now have been charged with conspiring to provide material support and weapons to terrorists, Jeff.
Bob, how did they make the case?
Well, it's interesting there as well. The men moved to the U.S. 2 years ago. The FBI got some kind of tip. They won't say what it is. They began watching them, and then they used an informant to record the conversations. Alwyn said that he'd been involved in a number of IED attacks, and this is really great. An FBI lab then was able to match Alwyn's fingerprints, believe it or not, to 2 latent prints that had been lifted from a bomb found in Iraq back in 2005. Also, the informant has helped, we're told, Alwyn and Hamadi collect cash and weapons. The men apparently thought that was going to be sent to Iraqi fighters. Of course, as we now know, it was all government-supplied material under the strict control of the FBI.
Bob, I think a lot of people might be wondering why these 2 men were in the U.S. in the first place.
They shouldn't have been here. It was a mistake pretty clearly. The men came here amid a flood of Iraqis who were seeking safe harbor from the war. 54,000 displaced Iraqis have come to the U.S. over the past 5 years, since 2006. Now, U.S. officials tell us the refugee screening should have been tighter than it was, and the men never should have come here. But now we're told those screening gaps, which caused this problem, have been closed, Jeff.
Bob Orr, thanks for your reporting from Washington.
All right, so I think I think you're with me. Like, look, man, I'm excited about the Trump thing. I am a little bit, no doubt about it. It's nice to have an average American in there, not some guy that was in the government his whole life. It's like almost like one of us, right? Like someone who can possibly do something unexpected and maybe change things that need to be changed. That doesn't mean we elected a deity. He's a man, okay? So, this ban thing, he could have handled it maybe a little bit better. I kind of like where he's coming from. I don't know about including the people who hold U.S. visas and all that. So I think there's fair room to criticize a little bit. But the way the media is going over the top and just like springing on every little detail and little guffaw as if it was like a conspiracy to commit perjury is ridiculous. And don't you see how it's counterproductive to the debate? So here's my tip to you. When you hear news reports about this new administration, these guys, look, the skeptical media, that's good. We need people to be held to account. Hopefully I'll be part of that with the channel going forward. But here's what I want you to do. When you hear something that sounds too ridiculous to be true, like Kellyanne Conway invented a massacre for political reasons, and it doesn't make any sense why she would do that, take my advice and go out for yourself and try to find the rest of the story, okay? That's all I'm going to say today. I hope you'll join us again on another episode of I Want You to Open Your Window Right Now. Bye-bye.